Well, why don't we get started? Thanks for joining us. It is March 31st, and you are now at one of our student admission programs, admitted student panels that are helping you make a decision about where you might want to go to college. Boston College, one of your other choices, and maybe some of you got an early decision and have already made your choice. Tonight, I think, is going to be great help because what we try to do the most at Boston College is really allow you guys as prospective students to see Boston College through the student lens. And an important part of life, clearly at Boston College, is how one navigates the academic choices that one will do in the course of 4 years. So tonight is going to be strictly dedicated to that. We have other programs throughout the month that will talk about social life. And it's not that these 4 students have no social life. They do have some semblance of social life, which they may or may not talk about tonight. But we're really going to focus on academic life because I know that you guys aren't necessarily nervous about it because you know that there's structures in college and resources in college. And that's why you're excited about college, to sort of start your way down a path towards some intellectual goal or some professional destination. So you know that. But I do think if we crack it open a little bit with our 4 students who have made a lot of great academic decisions over the course of 4 years, I think that will give you the confidence in how it works at Boston College and how applicable it's going to be to your college career, no matter where that is, in case it's not Boston College. Hearing how 4 students have done it well, I think will be great insight to how you'll make your choices in college. And sometimes plans change, and sometimes it's okay to let go of what you always thought in high school. And other times you're going to be inspired on the spot by a teacher, by a classmate, by a lecture, by a program. And that's okay too. A lot of people don't end up where they in a place where they expected to be when they started. That's the coolest thing about college is letting the smart people around you do their work and inspiring you and changing. I also know, as someone who's in admissions, when I went to college, I was a history major, and I always thought I'd just figure out what it is that I would do, and I didn't know how history would play a role in what I did after I graduated. Well, lo and behold, I'm in admissions, and what do you do in admissions? You read applications, and what's an application? It's a history. It's a history of someone's high school or college career. So I read histories for a living. It's exactly what I was trained to do. It's just not in the way I thought I would do it. So the choices I made indirectly led me to exactly where I thought I'd be. And I've been there for 20 something years now. And I hope you guys are so lucky. You guys are in for a treat tonight. I was able to get to volunteer with us 4 fantastic students who I've known for a long time. And they're going to be, I think, great at painting the picture of all the academic landscape and choices at Boston College. So I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves right now. And on a panel like this, and if you've been on a lot of them, we need some semblance of order. So we'll go alphabetical by first name, which puts Danielle first. And Danielle, here's what your introduction will be: who you are and where you're from, what year you are, although you'll notice a pattern. And then what I want you to talk about is what you came in at Boston College as. Were you undecided? Were you a major? And then what you are now and what changes may have occurred. And again, maybe there's a story within that you can tell us as you finish your introduction. And then once we go around and introduce the 4 panelists, I've prepared a few questions about the big academic decisions or mileposts that happen at Boston College. And then hopefully I have some time to answer some of your questions of the people that are viewing us tonight. So with that, Danielle, you're first. Get us started right.
Thanks, Chris. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. My name is Danielle Rinaldi, and I'm from Westfield, New Jersey. I am a senior in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences with a major in biology and minors in philosophy and public health. And I'm also in the pre-med track. Very soon, I will be also deciding which medical school I'll be attending next year. Unfortunately, no news for tonight, but soon. I love that this is the prompt you chose for tonight, Chris, because this is one of my favorite stories to tell. When I was sitting in my Boston College admission panel information session, there we go, when I was first looking at schools, I remember students talking about the philosophy core and the theology core, turning to my mom, telling her, we can go, in the middle of the session. And here I am with a philosophy minor. In fact, it was almost a major. I was only one class short. And so I'm here to tell you, have an open mind, take those core classes because you might find something that you had no idea you would fall in love with, or even just spark an interest. Maybe it's not something that you want to major in, but maybe it's something you want to take 3 classes in your elective space. I've had, the great honor to, study under some really great people in our philosophy and theology departments that kind of opened my eyes to those things. And I think it's really informed the type of person and type of doctor I want to be as I leave Boston College and go on to my next steps.
Great start, Danielle. You delivered. Thank you very much. Next is Giancarlo. Let's hear about a little bit about you. And again, kind of where you started from academically and where it's all led to now.
Sounds good. My name is Giancarlo Caruso. I'm originally from Suffield, Connecticut. I'm a senior in the Carroll School of Management here. And I guess my academic journey, I've always been in the Carroll School of Management, taking classes, but the way the school works is we have concentrations, not majors in the school. And you have to pick 1 or 2 concentrations. So when I applied into Boston College, I started out with management and leadership just because I was a little unsure of what the actual concentrations meant. And about my first month, I was like, I want to do finance. That's what business means. Like the only real option in a business school is the finance. And over the course of the next year and a half, I realized that finance was just not my thing, and that there were actually so many other options and concentrations and classes that I had started taking in the Carroll School core. And we'll touch on that in a little bit. But part of the core classes that I took as my requirements, I started to really enjoy and switch and shift my concentration. And currently I'm taking operations management and information systems as my concentrations. So yes.
Another great journey. That's how it's supposed to work. Well done. This is just fitting it. It's like I scripted this, but I didn't. I promise you that I didn't. But it just kind of worked out that way. I guess I know what happens in college from all these years. Madison, you're next. Let's hear about you and a little bit about where you started academically and where you are right now.
Sounds great. Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. My name is Madison Keller, and I want to say congratulations again on your acceptance to Boston College. I'm originally from Niskuna, New York. It's about 2.5 hours west of Boston. I'm a senior in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences, majoring in political science and minoring in Irish studies. So I just told you where I ended up. But I came to BC really interested in the pre-law track, which does not have any specific classes here at BC, but I really had an idea of if I want to be a lawyer, I need to be political science or English. And that's kind of how I came into Boston College with that narrow mindset, kind of similar to what Danielle said. And by taking different courses throughout the core curriculum, and also I started taking through my political science major, I found this Irish politics class. So it was a case study on 100 years of politics in Ireland. And that next semester I went abroad to Ireland, and now I ended up with an Irish studies minor. So that was really great because that minor is actually an interdisciplinary minor, which means it's a little bit more than a normal minor, but I'm able to take classes across all disciplines and all topics. So I took an Irish language class last semester. I've taken history courses, political science courses, and also music classes. So I've really been able to explore my interests in multiple ways here at BC. And I'm glad that I took the leap to take some classes I did not expect to take, and let alone minor in.
Well, since you used the word minor somewhere between 9 and 11 times in your answer, Madison, can you just really quickly go over what a minor is as compared to what a major is?
Yes, so I know we'll talk about this more in terms of our own experience, but majors are about 10 classes or 30 credits, and minors are anywhere from 6 to 8 courses and 3 credits each. So I will say most people here find a way to double major, find a way to have at least one minor, and that's really a way that Boston College students plan with their advisors, and you can do all that ahead of time to fit in everything you'd like to do.
Got it. Thank you. Last but not least, Stephanie, if you can introduce yourself and again talk about what your academic journey has been in terms of majors and programs through your time at BC.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. So hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Relp, and I am a senior in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences. I am from Lake Forest, Illinois, which is about an hour north of Chicago. And I actually came into BC studying or thinking I was going to study biology on the pre-med track. And I am now double majoring in economics and English with a minor in the Carroll School of Management in accounting for finance and consulting. So did a complete 180. And I really always like to emphasize that the biology pre-med track is something that is so doable here at BC, as Danielle kind of is the poster child for. It's definitely not a weed out kind of system. So those of you that are interested in that, I highly recommend going for it. It just wasn't for me. And that's something that it was just kind of a trial and error kind of situation, which BC is definitely really a good place for that if you're not entirely sure. As people had mentioned, the core curriculum really leaves you a lot of wiggle room to try different things and to go down different paths and really try to figure out what you're passionate about. So I made my switch pretty early in my career at BC. I made the switch over to economics second semester freshman year, and I ended up picking up English and accounting then during my sophomore year. So kind of tagged along more things as my time went on, but something that I am absolutely so happy with the final product of my academic path.
Now, balancing a double major and a minor, being a part of a major and pre-med, you know, the calculus that goes into lining up the courses and credits and making sure you still graduate on time. I mean, is that a real art? Is that difficult? Or do you usually have some guideline from an advisor or a department? Or how, like Stephanie, give us an example. Like, you've got a lot cooking in terms of what you need to get credits for to get out of here in 4 years, which you will. Is it hard? Does it require a lot of planning, or is it a lot easier than you think because of how courses count and what works for what things?
Sure. Yeah, no, I would say definitely make yourself a 4-year plan. And that's something your advisor can help you with. That's something that really helped me right off the bat when I was thinking about when I wanted to switch and kind of like how that would fall into my academic planning. So I kind of had a rough idea of each semester that I'd be taking so many English classes and so many economics classes and try to balance those out so I wasn't taking too much at one time. That's something your advisor can help you with. That's something professors can help you with. And that's something that you kind of get used to, I think, as you go through your time at BC as well, that you kind of know what classes would go well with others in terms of the different disciplines that you're considering studying.
Danielle, do you remember like that first time you registered? Because someone said in the Q&A, like, I think it is like 1,400 classes that we offer every semester, and you got to figure out 5, and you're just walking on campus and you're doing orientation and so many things are coming at you at once. I mean, do you remember what that was like, and who and what were the things that guided you just right off the bat in terms of getting registered for the first time and making sure you were on the right track?
Well, first of all, we had an added obstacle because we were walking into Bath's library during freshman orientation with an absolutely archaic registration system.
Agreed.
It's like, imagine a black screen with green text with like, it's been that way until this semester. So you guys will all have hopefully a much smoother registration experience with the new system, Eagle Axe. But I do remember what that was like. And it was quite overwhelming thinking about, all of the lofty goals that I had for myself, but at the same time, having no idea what I was interested in studying. I didn't mention in my little path that I ended up changing my major and minors like 6 times throughout the course of my studies here. So we did have both orientation leaders who are upperclassmen mentors, as well as faculty advisors available to us and like holding our hands through that process, which was really helpful in figuring out, okay, I think I want to study biology. What are the classes that I should take as a freshman? You look at the number 1,400 classes and then you realize, okay, well, I can't take upper level electives because they have all of these prerequisites. So it really does narrow down your possibilities early on. And our core curriculum also helps to guide what those early classes are going to be that you take, because you'll have to take, correct me if I'm wrong, 15 classes across 10 disciplines. I always mix up those numbers. Okay, 15 classes across 10 disciplines. So you can take any of those classes during your first year. That kind of might help guide you in one way or the other. Or, maybe it's a math class that you're really dreading, but you get it over with and you check a box and you get some time to figure out what you really want to study in those later semesters.
How about Giancarlo, in terms of the business school? Were there any differences in terms of your registration process remember though, you also have not just the university core, which again, we will get into, but you also have a number of requirements that you need to fulfill as a business student that really it's to your benefit to start fulfilling them right away so you can get a better understanding of what's out there. So what was your, initial registration like, and who helped you with your plan right off the bat?
If I can get the lights to go on. Sorry about that. So freshman year, I think it's nice because we have a Carroll School core of about 8 or so classes, I think, for your class coming in. Everyone will start off taking a Portico class, which is an intro to business and business ethics course, who the professor will also serve as your advisor. And as you had mentioned earlier, I think upperclassmen mentors are a huge part of the academic advising process here. Everyone's just so passionate about telling me which classes to take and which classes were fun and good professors. So for this Portico course, you also have 2 upperclassmen teaching assistants who will be your like built-in friends and mentors for the semester. And they're really great in terms of helping you pick classes and professors. In addition to that, the Carroll School core that I had mentioned is a great way to have classes to start taking during your first semester at BC and have like a set number of, or a set list of classes that you'll have to take along with your peers too. So I think it's nice at the beginning of your BC career to have some sort of structure to the classes that you have to take, and it's less overwhelming, I think. And then as you start to get into your sophomore year, you have much more leeway in terms of courses that you can take and when you can take them as well.
Can we morph into just in terms of academic culture and climate? Like Madison, was it pretty overwhelming right off the bat in terms of what the expectations were of teachers, how competitive it might have been, or maybe it was collaborative? We talk about all these decisions you have to make, but you also, it's one thing to pick the class, it's another thing to take the class and succeed in the class. So what kind of adjustments did you make, and how did you find the initial transition to what professors wanted you to do to get good grades in their class?
That's a great question. And the first thing I thought of was really that I don't think during orientation, when I picked my courses, I don't think I was realizing I was picking about 6 to 8 hours worth of classes. Because normally I was in class in high school like you guys are for 6 to 8 hours a day. So that was something that was a transition. At just as classes were getting harder and more was being asked of us, we were having more time than normal during the week. So there was a good balance there, that you had time to do those readings and to prepare for those tests more so than normal. I will say one specific choice that I made my freshman year was at orientation. My faculty member was a political science professor. So that was great for me. She told me about a great class to take. But I also decided, since I took calculus senior year, I was going to take it again my freshman year of college. I did well in the class senior year, and I will say it was a different ball game in college. And so this was like one of the first times, and one of the few times at BC where I really had to make a transition and pivot in an academic sense. So what I did was I took advantage of the Connors Learning Center, which is our tutoring center here at BC. And I partnered with a grad student who got an A in calculus, and they were able to kind of walk me through my tests, help me make test corrections, and really kind of orient me to finish the class and to finish strong. And so that's something that I did not expect necessarily coming into BC, but I'm just really glad that those things were there. And I would say there's definitely going to be a transition. So to be able to ask for help and to get good advice from friends and professors, like Giancarlo said, is really was really helpful to me my freshman year.
So that is a nice segue to faculty and the role that they've played in your development as an intellect, your future after graduation. Stephanie, let's talk a little bit about how those relationships work. First day of class, a professor talks about the syllabus, talks about the expectations of the class, tells you where their office is, and then sort of where does it go from there? And who is it incumbent upon? I guess I know the answer to this, but like if you want to maintain those relationships and you want to make the most out of the connection between faculty and students, like what are the best tips for you over the years to make those work for you?
Yeah, sure. I think that's actually a really good point, Chris. It's really, the onus is really on the student, I would say. I have friends that never go visit their professors in office hours. And I think that is just a grave mistake in terms of just like your time at BC, because these professors are so here for all of us and here to help all of us. And they're just such a wealth of knowledge. I think not getting to know them is actually honestly like a loss as a student. So I would say within the first week or two, just take the time to introduce yourself to a professor. Obviously this year it looks a little different, but I've had the opportunity to meet all of my professors one-on-one over Zoom. In years past, I've actually got to go to their office to introduce myself, which I think like that's just a really great way to start off the bat. And then just maintaining that relationship throughout the year, going into their office hours, study sessions when you need help, but also if you find something interesting, if you want further clarification on things, they're there to help you. And I think especially as you then move on to setting your sights beyond BC, there are definitely great mentors and resources that they can connect you with. Their colleagues outside of the world of BC and share their experiences and kind of connect you with some of those really great people. So for example, one of my favorite professors at BC is Professor Stephanie Green in the business law department. I am not at all in the Carroll School of Management, even though I do have a minor. But for a very long time, I was interested in considering law school. I still am, but she actually helped me kind of set up a path of considering doing that after working in corporate America for a couple of years. So with her advice and mentorship, that's kind of the decision that I reached, and we kind of created a plan of like what was best for me. That's definitely something that I would not have been able to do without her help. And just like understanding, I guess, just like how she got to her point in her career and whatnot. So definitely utilize your professors as resources. I would say that's my biggest piece of advice.
Good. Makes total sense. And that's probably why all of you have got to the point where you are. A lot of great people that have invested time to help you with decisions or let you talk out loud or endorse your candidacy for medical school. I mean, that's what it's all about, which, you guys talking about positive relationships with faculty is not a surprise to me. I mean, I hear it time and time again, which is fantastic. All right, Danielle, since you got us started and you talked about philosophy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up on the screen here our core curriculum, or the basics of our core curriculum. And if you can walk us through it. And I want you to walk us through it in the sense that you came in definitely predisposed to STEM, and you saw these like philosophy. Maybe you had AP units in history or economics. To take us through some of the choices you made to fulfill some of these classes, if you remember, and why you thought, and we heard what you said about philosophy, but why you think this is so much, what Boston College is all about and what you were able to get out of them.
Definitely. Thanks, Chris. Can you maybe go into present mode so it's a little bit larger for the students? Yeah, yes. Perfect. Thank you. So Chris makes some good points about the core curriculum. It's really what you make of it. Something that I didn't take advantage of, but I want to encourage everyone to, and maybe somebody else can talk to this later. We have an interdisciplinary study program called Enduring Questions and Complex Problem solving classes. And Chris has those listed at the bottom. They're co-taught by faculty in different departments. And there are some really cool crossover classes that I've had friends take those classes. And for example, there's a history of science class. So if you're interested in history, but you know that you just don't want to take general chemistry for that science requirement, you can take a class that's a little bit more directed towards your interest. There's one about where #MeToo meets #Black Lives Matter. They really range across a wide variety of topics. Some of the courses that I took along the way were, we have a program here at BC called the Pulse program, and Pulse is a combination between philosophy and theology, where students will complete their entire philosophy and theology core requirements over the course of 1 year with the same faculty member. And what's really great about this class is that it integrates these topics into more practical, active forms of learning. So you actually get to go into a service placement in the community somewhere in the greater Boston area during the week and serve at a service placement. So for example, I got to lead a citizenship class for US immigrants while taking this class. And then I came back to a class where some students were volunteering in jails and some students were volunteering in homeless shelters. And we always talk about those experiences and how they related to the material we were reading. Now, I'm not as inclined towards history as I turned out to be towards philosophy. And so I'm just taking, as a second semester senior, my last core class in modern history. It's just a class that I thought would be relatively interesting. And it's nice to pair kind of a lower workload class, a core class in senior year with some of the more interesting electives that I'm taking at the moment. But there are tons of really cool ones. One of my favorites that was pretty random for me was History of Popular Music with Jason McCool. We listened to music to study. We listened to music starting from the 1910s all the way up through present day. And we kind of learned about how popular music becomes popular, what cultural influences and political influences act on the music industry, and a lot of really cool topics came up through that class. So those are kind of some of my favorites, but certainly my philosophy and Pulse experiences are among my favorites.
Did you talk about Kesha in that popular music class? I love the Kesha. I love Kesha. She's one.
I know, because one time, actually, everyone, Chris O'Brien left me a voicemail saying that he was listening to Kesha while mowing his lawn. So yes, he does love Kesha. And no, we didn't specifically talk about Kesha, but I did listen on my own.
She'll be appreciated much later, like many great musicians are. A question came up about how AP exams could affect the core, and it does. Students who get a 4 or 5 in world history, European history, would be absolved from the history requirement in the core. Biochem, physics would work in natural science. Economics or government, psych could work in social science. AP composition, AP language would work. For AP Lit would work. Calculus would work. Even music theory or art history would work. The two things that don't have an AP unit equivalent would be philosophy and theology. So that is something I know, no matter how many APs you might be bringing to Boston College, you will take a philosophy and theology sequence with us. Everything else is a possibility that you could have AP units work with. And what AP units are, just accelerate you past an intro level, or again, absolve you of the requirements. AP units aren't credits. You still have to take 120 credits at Boston College. But your 120 credits may be different than someone else's, because you may not have to take courses in the core that you have AP units for. So I know that question comes up quite a bit. So moving on and trying to cover a lot of these bases when it comes to academics. Usually when you guys get to junior and senior year, it's one of two things. It's the prep for a career in graduate school, law school, medical school, or it's usually where the academic part meets the professional part. And that is still an academic exercise, but that usually leads to off-campus opportunities. So let me first ask about, grad school preparation and what kind of things are around here. I mean, Danielle, I know that you're certainly almost at the end of it. And then for some of you that are well on the way in terms of your professional start, where does the academic and the professional intersection happen for you guys? Did it happen early as an intern? Did it happen much later in the career search? Starting with Danielle, talk a little bit about your medical school routine, and then maybe one of you guys can talk a little bit about whether it was internships or something like that got you where you wanted to be, or at least close to where you want to be professionally. Danielle, go ahead.
Sure, thanks, Chris. So one of the things that was really integral in my path to medical school was the pre-health office here at BC. And I can talk about that in a moment, but first I'd like to say where it kind of started. And with that, for me, it was faculty members. I had an incredible faculty member, my first class ever at BC. His name was Professor Neil Wolfman. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but I think he's really like the quintessential BC professor. And when he passed away, I have another faculty member who really has taken on kind of his role in students' lives. And so Professor Wolfman noticed that a friend and I had consistently sat in the second row of his lecture hall. but we were too scared to go and introduce ourselves. So he invited us to go get lunch with him about halfway through first semester freshman year. And since then, he was my advisor, my go-to guy to talk about, shadowing or what classes I should be taking and thinking about taking, writing letters of recommendations for things over the summer that I wanted to be involved in. And so overall, I think our faculty really play a really important role in students' experience. Like Stephanie mentioned, they're also going to be they're not all going to reach out to you. Most of them won't, but they all do really want to get to know you as students. And so they're a really great resource to tap into. Can't say that enough. In terms of the pre-health committee, I saw a question come through about pre-vet. This also applies to you, applies to pre-dental. All post-grad health profession schools will be advised through the same office, and the staff in that office are really helpful in determining, when I want to take my standardized test, what score should I aim for, what school should I apply to, when's the right timeline to apply. There are so many questions to ask, and I think a lot of it depends on your personal goals. A lot of it depends on your interests. But the resources are certainly there for you. I did mock interviews during my application process. They even adapted it to be pretty similar to what I would see over Zoom. So they're working with you to make the experience go as smoothly as possible. And so I can't speak highly enough of them. They're going to make sure you're really ready to apply so that your application is as strong as possible and really support you along the way as well. One last thing. Stephanie mentioned how the pre-health curriculum isn't there to weed you out. I absolutely want to second that. If you want it, you're going to go get it, and you're going to go get it with the preparation behind you. The faculty in the STEM departments are really great at preparing you for the standardized test. I know that when I started studying for the MCAT, I felt like I was swimming in a sea of information, but then I quickly realized that I had the tools provided by those tougher classes to succeed on those tests. And really, they were just building the foundation for me to really kill it on those standardized tests as well.
Thanks, Danielle. How about one of you guys that are, again, maybe through the internship process or certainly the career exploration process, kind of merged what you're doing in the classroom with what the next step might be?
I can add to that, Chris. So as I mentioned in my intro, I'm interested in pre-law. So I came my freshman year in September. I walked right up to the Career Center and asked how I can start preparing to apply to law school, which was 3 or 4 years in my future. And instead of laughing at me, they gave me a handbook, and they really talked to me about things I could be thinking about right now, which was great. I could reflect on things and kind of be prepared and think about that as a background to the courses I was taking at Boston College. So during that process, they also told me about a lot of offerings we have for internships on campus and beyond. So we essentially have a LinkedIn for Boston College students specifically. So there are jobs that are posted and aimed specifically at Boston College students. So that's great. And so after my sophomore year, I remember seeing a position listed as an intern in the Boston College Law School. And so I was extremely interested. I applied, and I ended up working there the summer after my sophomore year. And so I was actually an intern in their career center. So I was able to see from the lens of the law school. I got to meet law students, I got to meet faculty and professors at the law school, and I actually got to go into the city of Boston and meet legal employers who recruit BC students. So not only was I there for the recruitment process and get to see that without actually being involved, I also realized that I really enjoyed the aspect of working at a college. And it was really great that I was able to have that experience before deciding to attend law school in the future, which hopefully is still in my future one day. But the next thing I want to mention is through the political science department, I was also able to gain credit for another internship I've had throughout my time here. So I actually did the internship last spring. It was at a lobbying firm in Boston, and from my housing at BC, I was able to get on the train, the T, and go right into the city every other day. So it was really great because I was also able to gain course credit for this internship. And I really feel like the coursework at Boston College has not only led me to the connections that have landed me these internships, but also prepared me to ask questions and to really get the most out of these experiences. And I'm really grateful for that.
I add one thing, Chris, before we move on. I think in addition to the career centers that we have and the really great academic advising, Many employers, especially from like a business perspective, really want Boston College students and will come and help advise different classes. I've actually had 2 classes in the past semester, a consulting class and an information systems class about technology, that both we partnered with Deloitte Consulting, and we're partnered with different mentors who work there who are past Boston College alum. And that's been a really cool experience, getting the opportunity to network with them and be able to kind of apply what we're learning in the classroom to their jobs and get feedback. Has been a really cool experience. So that's another way that BC kind of helps bridge the career academic gap.
I know I have at least one study abroad person. Do I have more? 2? Well, right now it seems, we're in a time where, restrictions are starting to be lifted. It's still kind of crazy to think about traveling throughout the world and living in Barcelona for 4 months. But if the world continues on the pace it's going right now, and the light at the end of the tunnel continues to shine brighter, then it's not necessarily a big leap to think that some people watching us can study in Dublin 3 years from now, right? That's what we're hoping. So that's another academic choice that people make, to block out some time to make a plan that includes a semester abroad. For a couple of you that did study abroad, can you talk about what planning went into it and how valuable? I know you could go on all night about it, but try to condense it a little bit about how valuable you felt that experience was.
Yes, I can start, Chris. Thank you. So briefly, the study abroad overview I'll give about BC is we have over 200 programs here, and we have at least 80 specific programs that are sponsored by Boston College. So my study abroad program was in Dublin, Ireland. And so it was a Boston College program where we had everything from a Boston College building, a Boston College class that I did with the 20 other BC students who attended. And I took the rest of my courses at Trinity College. And it was really great because I was able to live with BC students and live with international students coming to Dublin from all over the world. Something that went into my academic and planning process was the fact that these Boston College programs not only transfer your credits over, but also your GPA. So every class that I took in Ireland counted towards my requirements here at BC. So that was wonderful. I took 2 political science classes abroad. I took Irish classes, obviously, to count towards my minor. And I was able to take actually a natural science core over there as well. So I really was able to pack in all of those credits counted for something back at Boston College. And I will say too, even if they didn't, I don't think that would have hindered my 4-year plan too much. It just was extremely convenient that I was able to transfer these credits back to the requirements here because Boston College and Trinity College have a great relationship along with their other 80 programs that they sponsor. So I will say that was just such a valuable experience because it gave me a view of a new place. And at the same time, I still felt very connected to Boston College. And I think that goes for all of the Boston College programs. I had an advisor who was there who got an Irish woman who got her master's at Boston College. And so she was really our point person there and just made us all feel at home and bring us on a lot of sponsored events as well. So that was just a great experience to be able to not worry about academics there and to really know that everything was counting and I was still on track.
Danielle?
I saw Giancarlo on mute. You got it. Go for it.
Go ahead, Giancarlo.
I was just going to add, I agree. We had a similar experience. I studied abroad in Barcelona to Madison in terms of academics. We also had a program director from Boston College. I took about half of my classes in Spanish and half of my classes in English. And I would say overall study abroad, I think is a really great experience for 2 reasons. One, you get a very different academic lens on it and not from an American perspective, which I think is really interesting to hear. And really expand your horizon, especially from a business education. It's important. Business doesn't just happen in America. Business happens all around the world. And I think that that's a really cool thing. And 2, in terms of like personal development, Boston College's motto is like cura personalis, I guess, or like a huge part of our academic and personal growth is like growth of the whole person. And I think that studying abroad is accomplishing just that. I think you're growing in so many ways, both academically, but also as a person in terms of all the freedoms that you have. And parents listening might be a little afraid by that, but there really is no restrictions and there's no one telling you what to do. And I think that there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that and a lot of growth as well. So I think that's a really great addition to it as well.
super, super fast addition because you guys did a great job. I did a summer study abroad program. So if anyone is hesitant about going abroad for a full semester, full year, we have shorter 1-month programs that are run through BC as well. And I studied abroad in Chile, and I got to take a class in English, which was key, having not taken Spanish in a while. But I did get to also stay with a host family. So that was an incredible experience, kind of getting the language immersion on one side and getting to study a really cool topic with 10 BC students for a month was also really great.
How about just in terms of studying, like where you do your work? Like you have a lot of work, you have all these meetings you need. Like, do you do all your work in your room? Do you have a favorite spot on campus? Like when it comes to taking care of your academics, Stephanie, where do you usually go?
I'm a big library girl. I cannot study in my room for the life of me. So you will find me in either O'Neill or Baps, typically with a friend or two and a big cup of coffee. That's typically where you'll find me studying.
Madison, how about you?
It's honestly in different academic buildings. So I'm a little bit afraid of library. I like there to be some noise in the background. And so I'm right now in Devlin Hall, normally our admissions building. We'll be welcoming some of you hopefully this next month. But really there's so many places on campus where as a student, they're open after hours. Sometimes my roommates and I go inside a classroom after class is over, and I feel like I get a lot of work done there.
Okay. The research element that we've sort of touched upon indirectly, but we're a tier 1 research institution. We expect our students to want to get their hands dirty in a lab or work side by side with a social scientist. How abundant are these opportunities that you've seen all around your department? Professors have talked about. Have you, your friends, taken advantage of what we have for research at BC?
I think this is a great question. And Chris, I like the way you framed it to show how really variable our research options are here at BC. In terms of how abundant they are, I was walking through the science building Higgins Hall my sophomore year in the second week of classes for the first semester. And my organic chemistry professor picked me out and said, Danielle, hey, wow, she said my name already. She asked me if I was interested in doing research. She knew someone who was looking for students. And it was really that simple. That being said, I wasn't. So we talked about how I was more interested in clinical experience and, push comes to shove, it wasn't for me, but there are tons of experiences available on campus, whether getting paid or getting credit, academic credit for research. And that happens in all disciplines. We have labs on campus in all of the major sciences that you can think of. I saw a question come through about neuroscience. There's absolutely research in neuroscience as well. And aside from that, we have research happening in all of the schools. So my roommate did research on bilingual education in the Lynch School of Education and Human Development. Another friend of mine did political science research on predicting the end of Game of Thrones using historical information, like just super cool stuff that you can do here on campus with different faculty members. One thing that I like to point out is that while we're a tier 1 research institution, we're also a primarily undergraduate school, which means that, at a lot of these tier 1 research institutions, you'll have faculty who are like, okay, grad student A, B, C, you're in my lab, and then kind of overlook the undergrads. What's really great about BC is that they're teaching you. Every faculty member who's doing research is also teaching undergrads. So they will absolutely be looking out for undergrads who want to be involved in their research.
Excellent. Question came in. Talk about the school work life balance. You are very ambitious. You all are ambitious, and you all do. I mean, I don't have your GPAs in front of me, although Stephanie's I do. I get, just because I read her application, so I get her GPA every semester. Keep it up, Stephanie. How at BC, just in terms of the culture, how have you found the schoolwork to life balance? Giancarlo, why don't you go first, and then Stephanie?
Sure, I can answer that. I think at times it can be difficult, but it's definitely all on us. And I think it's also a learning experience and how to deal with situations as they arise in life. Clubs and activities are a huge part of campus culture here. I'm part of a number across campus ministry and the Office of Student Involvement. I'm in the Campus Activities Board, which plans about 100 or so on campus and off campus events, which is great, but it also takes up a lot of my time too. And as Madison mentioned earlier, we're not in the classroom as much as you are in high school. So that gives us a lot more free time and also a lot more responsibility in terms of balancing homework and class and stuff. It definitely is very manageable. And I would actually recommend that you all participate in some sort of club, sport, activity, and fill up that extra time. I think it's a great way to meet new people and will be really rewarding throughout your college career.
Stephanie, go ahead.
I think Giancarlo really captured that perfectly. I would highly recommend getting involved. I think that just really balances out your academics because, I mean, obviously your academics is the main reason you're coming to BC, but really getting involved in campus life is also really rewarding in itself. So definitely there are some weeks that are harder than others. There are certain weeks you'll be hit with a couple papers and midterms all at once, and maybe your club has a huge event going on and you have a performance in something, but it's really all about balance and kind of looking ahead and trying to plan. And I think that's something that you'll get better with over time. That's something that I think as a freshman, that is a really big adjustment, just having so much free time and not necessarily knowing how to utilize it. But that's something that hopefully by your junior, senior year, you're an expert as you start taking on leadership positions, applying to jobs, research positions, grad school, et cetera. So all good things coming your way for sure.
We're going to start to wind this down, and I'm going to ask the panelists if you guys could put your email addresses in your little name boxes, just so the conversation can continue if you'd like to have it. I think all of you have contributed such great things. I do have time for a couple more questions, and I'm going to stay kind of abstract here and ask any of you is, how do you think you're better students after 4 years at BC? Do you have skills that are better? Do you ask better questions? Do you synthesize things better? How are you better at being a student now that you've been in college for 4 years, particularly at Boston College for 4 years?
I can start with this one, Chris. So I came to BC really interested in taking the Perspectives program course. So that is a year-long class for freshmen that highlights our philosophy and theology requirements. And so this class specifically was 2 out of our 5 courses each semester. So it was a lot of time in the classroom, and only about 15 other students and the same professor taught us all year. And this was a course where I was really interested in having this be my introduction to not only potential Catholic teachings, but just the Jesuit nature of Boston College. I came from a public high school, and I was really excited about this kind of intersection of religion and philosophy in the classroom. And I think that has completely been the undertone of all of my experiences here at Boston College, and it all started in Perspectives in the classroom. And what I'll say is what we talked about in that class is questions like, what does it mean to have a good life? Why do you think that? What makes you happy? Why does it make you happy? Things like that, where we were having those conversations in an academic setting and from people with all different backgrounds. And so we really got to give our perspective. But something that was really pivotal to me was that this was not just in the Perspectives class. This was in every course I've taken at Boston College. And I really feel like that openness and flow of communication between fellow students, professors, and also just Boston College in general, that questioning and trying to understand why you believe what you believe is something that I've been able to kind of visit in all of my activities and involvements here at Boston College. And I think that's really been what has changed for me and allowed me to kind of meld everything I've learned here together and be able to kind of talk about it.
So that's a great segue, and it might answer the question I was about to ask, but we really haven't talked much about our Jesuit Catholic heritage here, and it definitely has a connection to the academic program and culture at BC. At least it's supposed to. Has it for any of you? I mean, Perspectives is a great example. We could rest right there. But if we're talking about all these academic things and people say, well, you're a Catholic school, how does the fact that you're Catholic, how does the fact that you're Jesuit Catholic, specifically Jesuit Catholic, have an impact on how academics are done?
You want to add? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just follow up really quickly about Perspectives. I think specifically with the philosophy and theology requirements of BC, you do not have to take a class about Catholicism. It can be about many other different religions and cultures around the world. But I think something that is unique about the Jesuit Catholic nature about Boston College is that we have hard conversations, and we have conversations about controversial things. And you might have them with your professor who's a Jesuit priest. And so just being in that situation, and I was surrounded by some students in my perspectives class who grew up going to a Catholic school, and just hearing their perspective about things, and then being able to kind of question them about that and go back and forth was something that just engaging in those dialogues and not being afraid of saying the wrong thing, I think definitely has to do with the Jesuit Catholic nature, that you're educating each other and you're learning from each other, and you're not afraid to wonder certain things. So you're not necessarily being taught. It's definitely more of an interactive experience where you are learning from each other, and the professors acknowledge that as well.
Giancarlo, real quick.
Sure. I was going to give a quick and more fun example, I guess, from a non-theology class in a financial accounting class I was taking actually with Professor Betty Bignani. She actually used to make us do examens, which is a tradition of St. Ignatius, who started the Jesuits. And she would ask us questions like, who's your auditor, and different things like that, from financial statement type questions, to kind of bring in that aspect of reflection and make you a more thoughtful accountant and business person, rather than just thinking through the numbers and thinking kind of what your impact is on the business world.
In about 2 weeks, the junior class, the sophomore class, and the freshman class at BC right now will start registering for classes for the fall of 2021. You won't be around, but are there classes that are still left for you that you want to take? Like if you were back again, is there another minor you want to pile on to your list? Are there classes that you would like to take? If you're done, I totally understand. You've worked really hard, but I mean, could you see yourself taking more classes and just time has run out? Or have you done all the things that you wanted to do here academically?
I feel like the options are just plentiful. It's impossible to kind of accomplish, I think, everything that you want to. I mean, I've obviously dipped my toe in several different departments at BC, and I feel like there's still so many that I wish I could. For example, like I wish I could have finished out the medical humanities minor. I kind of dabbled in different healthcare kind of topics in econ department and English department through different courses, but I didn't get to actually complete that minor. So that would have been something that's really interesting. I wish I could have done something with information systems, taking more business law classes. So there is a lot that I feel like is still out there that I wish I could have taken. But I'm very happy, obviously, with everything that I have taken in my past 4 years. But I feel like you can't accomplish it all, Chris.
Hey, Danielle, did it go by fast?
It went by fast and it went by slow. You know, I feel like COVID kind of shook things up in a way that we weren't expecting, but I have to say the time that I've spent here like changed me in all the good ways. And I'm really excited for, you know, another 4 years that goes by fast and slow, but BC has taught me that, you know, you can really settle down and put down roots, whether temporarily or permanent, in a place that you know, even if you decided a couple days before decision day, like I did, you guys will all end up in a place that's right for you.
Thanks, Danielle, and thanks everybody. I'll finish with answering a few questions that came in about academic advising, especially for freshmen. I'm a freshman academic advisor, and I hopefully through the night you've realized that I do actually like students, and I love talking to students about their future. I get really excited about it. But the themes that came up I thought were really important. You know, as a freshman academic advisor, I do push a lot about, you know, you don't have to be the major that you put on your application from high school to college. You can change it up. You can let it go, and you can try new things. Or, you know, just because you've always felt this pressure to be a doctor, if it's not feeling right, then you're a fool to stay, especially when you have an opportunity to do so many other things in college. So while a freshman advisor is helping with the registration process and with those meetings, in my history as a freshman advisor, I've helped people do their laundry. I've helped them pick up prescriptions at various drugstores around Boston. I'm here to so someone can ask a silly question and not be embarrassed by asking it to a faculty member or a dean. Ask me, ask the admissions. You've already impressed me, you got accepted. So you can ask me the dumb question and I'll help. So academic advising, especially for freshmen, is really not going to be me pontificating about, all the things that you should do. It's meeting you where you are and trying to work out what your vision is and how that works at BC and how ingrained that in that vision, how realistic that vision is. So I hope that you find early in your career those adults or upperclassmen, like Giancarlo said, that can help guide you. We're all here to help, and that's what makes our community really special. These academic decisions usually do require sitting in an office of a faculty member, of an advisor, or sitting and having coffee with a junior, just talking out loud and finding out what's right. Conversation partners are what makes the place run. We've talked about it a lot. This has been great. And I hope all of you that have joined found something from it that is helpful. Please stay in touch with the folks that volunteered to be on our panel tonight. They impressed the heck out of me. And hopefully they did you in terms of knowing their stuff and being willing to share that information with you guys. We have more panels coming up after Easter. Next week, we'll start focusing on the different professional schools at BC, and we'll start talking about social life and traditions, service, and other factors of life at BC. Thanks for tuning in. This was a really important topic. Thanks again to my panelists. Hopefully we see you at BC very soon. Good luck with your search. Thanks for joining us tonight. Take care, guys. Thanks a lot.